Kim Davy, you are only revealing half the story. And if you are genuinely interested in the truth coming out, you must submit to Indian law. Because you have violated Indian law, Kim.
I'm avoiding the Indian jail system. I'm avoiding the torture that awaits me. I'm not avoiding getting to the bottom of this case.
On the one side, you're saying let the truth come out. On the other side, you're doing everything to avoid extradition. You made a human rights argument. You say the case is political, but you're not revealing the full story. You're making it
so. Anna, please tell me, yes. Who can give the order to turn off the military radar to let in a plane? Is that something that I can do?
You must tell us more. Tell us more. Tell us who. Don't drop hints. You're dropping hints.
Can I intervene?
Kim, can you hear me?
So, Peter, your lungs sound okay. The capacity, though, is still only 50% because the lower parts of the lungs aren't working properly due to scarring from the TB.
All right, now.
The TB itself is completely gone.
Oh, that's good. That's good, yeah.
How are things in general?
You know, the case hasn't finished. The Indian government is now trying to get Niels Holck extradited from Copenhagen to India for trial. You know, there's not a newspaper in the world that hasn't printed my photograph with the name terrorist underneath it. And years ago, that might have been something to laugh about, but since 9/11, that's a pretty serious matter. There was some sort of government conspiracy here. And I think we all need to know what it was all about. And I certainly can't put this to bed until I've seen that my name is cleared completely. And it's established beyond any doubt that I wasn't a terrorist and I wasn't trying to start a war in India. Until I can achieve that, this matter's not closed for me.
I dag kl. 14.30 skal dommerne i retten i Hillerød tage den endelige beslutning, om det er forsvarligt at udlevere den 48-årige dansker Niels Holck til retsforfølgelse i Indien.
Vi konstaterer, at der er en sigtelse for en meget alvorlig kriminalitet, og på det grundlag så sker der en udlevering. Ligesom vi vel i Danmark ville forvente, at hvis en inder fløj over Danmark og kastede våben ned til nogle terrorister i Danmark, så ville vi nok også forvente, at Indien ville udlevere den pågældende til strafforfølgning i Danmark.
Men Niels Holck frygter for sit liv, hvis han bliver udleveret.
Det er meget svært for mig at forestille mig at blive udleveret ned til den torturbødel, som jeg så om i retten, som jeg har set billeder af stå og torturere en anden mand for ganske nyligt. Det er meget svært for mig at forstå, at når jeg har indrettet mit liv efter at have fået besked, hvor jeg ikke vil blive udleveret, og har fået familien, at man så lige pludselig laver om på den beslutning. Og vel at mærke med så mange års forsinkelse. Tænk, hvis det går worst case. Det gider vi ikke snakke om. Det gør det. Det gør det.
Du har jo, jeg kan sige, indrømmet eller erkendt, at du har gjort de her ting, du er skyldt for.
Hvorfor er det, du ikke vil til Indien for at tage den retssag, vi byder på dernede?
Jamen altså, jeg har sagt det i 14 år, at jeg meget gerne ville stå til regnskab for, hvad der skete dengang. Og jeg mener, at det var berettiget nødværv. Vi havde ikke andre muligheder for at beskytte os selv. Jeg mener, det er fuldstændig utilstedeligt, at et dansk justitsministerium sidder og vil lade et stalinistisk styre i West Bengalen, der er alle på nær det danske justitsministerium anerkendt som et terrorregime. At man skal blive kaldt terrorist for at beskytte sig mod et terrorregimes overgreb, det er at vende tingene fuldstændig på hovedet. Det var de 4 unge vagter, som var de første, vi bevæbnede dernede med pinde. De blev hakket i stykker af politiet i civil. Jeg kendte ham meget godt, Ananda. Når man har set sådan noget der tæt på, så er det en anden virkelighed. Og det er så langt væk fra den virkelighed, jeg lever i i dag, at det nogle gange er svært at huske. Eller, jo, det er ikke svært at huske, men det er svært at mærke, hvor voldsomt det var. Som ung teenager havde jeg set billeder fra Vietnamkrigen, og fået den her dårlige samvittighed over at være hvid mand. Så jeg ledte meget, meget desperat efter inspiration til, hvad vej verden skulle. Fordi at den her vestlige propaganda med, at vi bare skulle redde hele verden, det havde jeg da set på med mine egne øjne på de billeder der. Det kunne vi ikke finde ud af, tværtimod. Så da jeg første gang hørte om, at man i Vestbengalen havde nogle udviklingsmodeller og projekter, som virkelig sparkede røv, der interesserede det mig dybt. Og derfor besluttede jeg, at det skulle være målet for min første udenlandsrejse. Ananda Marga er et netværk af frivillige, der arbejder på forskellige projekter, og så lærer de folk at meditere. Og det faktum, at Ananda Marga formåede i Bengalen rent faktisk at drive tusindvis af skoler for fattige og lave udviklingsprojekter, det var så mange niveauer, de arbejdede på, og det var dybt inspirerende. Altså i Purulia for eksempel, der havde vi den her lomme på 40.000 mennesker med 40 landsbyer. Der var et fuldstændig glansbillede eksempel på, hvordan man skaber en udvikling i den tredje verden, ikke? Lige omkring det, der sultede folk jo stadigvæk. Og det var jo delstatsregeringens ansvar. Det slog mig meget, at man kunne have sådan en kynisme og bo midt i sådan en armod og ikke gøre noget ved det. Der satte jeg mig på en trappesten, og så sagde jeg, at det her, det er, hvad mit liv skal gå ud på. Jeg kunne ikke tage tilbage til Rungsted og gå ned på Rungsted Statsskole med alle de fine børn og hygge mig og drikke bajer. Altså det var så langt fra hinanden, at det kunne jeg ikke. Men der, hvor det markante skift så sker kort tid efter, det er så i maj 82, ser jeg billeder af 17 munker og nonner, og 3 af dem, nogen jeg personligt havde mødt i Calcutta, som var på vej i en taxa forbi Garihat Market, hvor jeg selv havde været 5 måneder før. Så bliver de stoppet, og man har sidenhen fundet ud af, at det var folk, der var sendt ud direkte fra det kommunistiske lederskab. De flår dem ud af deres taxaer og stikker dem ild til dem levende og stikker øjnene ud på dem. Og se et menneske, man har delt mad med og hygget med 5 måneder senere ligge i sådan en forkullet håb, det skaber en eller anden form for 5. gear i en og siger, det her, det kan ikke være meningen.
I've spent a whole lifetime in the security business and advising people on how to avoid threats, how to avoid risks, and also putting people's problems right for them. And I did that in the armed forces, and I did that in civilian life as well. By the time 1995 came around, I'd more or less retired, and I'd been looking for something to do that kept me occupied and kept me traveling around the world, which I enjoyed. And I settled on trading in the defense business because I had so many friends in the industry. I'd been involved in it. I could deal with this because I'd experienced it. So I was quite happy with life. I first got involved with this when I was asked for a delivery of a large amount of AK-47s by some Danes. I flew to Copenhagen, and then I was driven to this nice house overlooking the sea. And this chap came in, and of course it was the person I now know as Niels Holck. At the time, he was known as Kim P. Davy, but at that stage he wasn't introduced to me by any name at all. I had no idea who he was. He produced a map of West Bengal, and he put his finger on the Purulia district. And he said he wanted the arms in an area right about there, and I quickly became aware that this was not a legitimate deal. I'm a little bit taken aback. Here I am, sitting in Copenhagen, and I'm surrounded by people who are clearly supporting some guerrilla group of some description. So it's not a very good time to start objecting or taking the moral high ground. You know, my main concern was to get away out of Copenhagen and back into England and get some advice. You know, in that line of business, you always report back and you follow your instructions and assist the government where you can. Perhaps I should explain to you that the Ministry of Defence in those days had a department called the Defence Export Services Organisation. And this was specifically set up to assist people in the defence trade do their business around the world. And they used to give us a lot of help. In return, we would keep them fully informed of everything we were doing. So it was a very good two-way flow. And almost immediately after that, I had a meeting with officers from North Yorkshire Police Special Branch who were representing the security service, MI5. And they said to me that they'd given the Indian government the full details of everything that had happened so far. And they told me that the Indian government was very anxious for the aircraft to enter Indian airspace full of guns so that they could arrest it, pick up Niels and question them and find out who the guns were for. And in those days, I was in the habit of when I'd discuss something of any importance at all, I'd send a fax straight after that, confirming what my impression of the conversation was. Don't forget, we didn't know who Niels Holck was. He could have been anybody. Mainland Europe has a history of quite dangerous terrorism, people like the Bader-Meinhof gang, and they're quite violent.
Jeg kendte en fyr i Korea, som købte guld, og da jeg så henvendte mig til ham om, at jeg ville starte lidt mere systematisk guldsmugling op, der henviste han mig til Mr. Mac, som han var i familie med. Og så på den måde, så fløj vi jo i virkeligheden mellem to familiemedlemmer, den ene i Hongkong og den anden i Korea. Og så var vi jo muldyr i den forbindelse. Og så da vi så var først kommet inden for døren hos Mr. Mac, så kunne vi jo også godt få guld på kredit af ham til at flyve hen til andre lande og sælge guld. Nogle gange havde vi det på kroppen, og nogle gange så gemte vi det i videobatterier. Altså det vi gjorde, det var jo at tjene penge nok til, at vi kunne beskæftige os 10 måneder om året med de udviklingsprojekter, som vi hver især arbejdede med. Det var også ved at flytte rundt på guld, at vi kunne betale for våbnene til vagtværnet. Det skete jo af og til, at der var en, der blev taget i tolden, og så kostede det et eller andet sted mellem 10 og 20.000 dollar i bestikkelse, så var han ude et par dage efter. På det tidspunkt, hvor Kongrespartiet sidder i Delhi, og kommunisterne sidder i Calcutta, er der et stort modsætningsforhold mellem de to politiske kræfter i Indien. Kommunisterne begår utallige overgreb, ikke kun i Purulia, men i hele West Bengal. Der er tusindvis af mennesker, der forsvinder fra deres hjem og bliver tortureret ihjel i fængslerne. Politiske fanger, politiske modstandere. Kommunisterne var jo efterhånden ved at blive en belastning for Indiens internationale ry. Alle i Purulia var jo sådan set enige om, at vi skulle bevæbne vagterne. Min opgave var at købe våben og få dem ind i landet. Bleach hjalp mig med at købe flyveren og hyre en russisk besætning. Altså man kan sige, den der endelig traf beslutningen om, at man ville holde hånden over sådan en våbennedkastning, det var så den her indiske politiker fra det nationale parlament i Delhi. Ideen opstår jo i samarbejde med ham, fordi ellers ville det jo ikke være muligt. min kontaktperson i Hongkong koordinerede med den indiske politiker, som igen koordinerede med den indiske efterretningstjeneste om, hvornår radaren ville være slukket, og hvornår det ville være sikkert at flyve ind. På hotelværelset i Riga, der er jeg jo klar over, at næste morgen, når jeg sætter mig ind i den flyver der, så er det svært at gå baglæns. Så vil der starte et forløb, som man ikke kan stå af på vejen.
Hello?
Peter?
Yes, who is this?
This is Kim Davy.
Kim?
Is this a bad time?
No, it's fine.
It's a pretty typical cold English winter's day, around about the 8th of December, I think, and I had Sergeant Holck, the Special Branch Officer, and MI5 officer in my office. Whilst we were talking, the telephone rings, and it's Niels. And of course, the Special Branch and MI5 officers are listening to all this. They hear everything that's said.
What can I do for you?
You have to come to Bulgaria. They say a certificate has expired and needs to be renewed. Did you hear what I said?
Yes, I heard everything.
I'll let you know as soon as I've booked a flight.
Sounds wonderful, Peter. Thank you so much.
Well, as I told you, I'm the one who bought the airplane. My name is on its papers.
So it was decided that as soon as I could get everything put together, I would fly up to Bulgaria and attend to this problem for Niels. The final instruction I'd been given was that it was vital that this aircraft entered Indian airspace. And that was my only thought, and it had to be done. Went down to Gatwick, parked my car. As I walked out onto the Spider to get onto the aircraft, there was a guy in a suit at the aircraft door, and he said, "Oh, hello, Mr. Bleach. How long will you be away for?" And I said, "Only 2 days." And he said, "Have a good flight." This was an MI5 guy checking me out of the country. And it was very late when I finally arrived. I'd had to fly to Sofia. From Sofia, I had to fly to another airport. Then I had to get a taxi over the mountains to Bulgaria. It was like, really a bit like an old Dracula film, something like that. And Niels is not an emotional man. And I was quite surprised about how pleased he was to see me. I think he was starting to worry that this wasn't going to happen.
Man kan nok godt påstå om mig, at det kræver en vis naivitet at gøre det, jeg gjorde. Men jeg vil meget nødig have siddende på mig, at jeg var så naiv at tro, at man kunne købe en last fuld af våben i Bulgarien, uden at de efterretningstjenester, der kunne vide, ville vide. Bleach er en tidligere efterretningsmand, og det var helt klart min vurdering, at der var mindre risiko ved at have Bleach ombord på flyverne, end ikke at have ham.
What time do you fly?
Sometime tomorrow. It's all there.
Well, I think we're done. Good luck.
Well, Peter, you know every little detail about this mission. I need you on that plane.
That wasn't the arrangement. I can't. I have plans. I promised my mother I'd be home for Christmas, for Christ's sake.
We'll have you home well before Christmas. We'll fly you home first class from Phuket. And you'll be paid extra, of course.
I have no real choice. If I said no, he would immediately be very suspicious. And I remember, of course, that the last thing that MI5 said to me was it was vital this aircraft went into India so it could be arrested there. And so I agreed. It was a mistake that later on cost me quite dearly.
When do we rearrange the cargo?
I'm hoping we can do that in the air before we land in Varanasi.
There's enough time for that.
Well, there has to be.
Kim,
Yes?
Captain wants to speak, please.
I'll be there in a second. But Peter, take a look at it. See if you can see something that I can't.
Sure.
I knew that British intelligence would know where I was. and it would be pretty obvious what had happened. Very much in my blood to serve my country. Both my father and my grandfather served in the British Army. My father was evacuated from Dunkirk and went back again on D-Day. My assumption was that at some stage of this operation, Niels and all his colleagues and the arms were going to be arrested, and that was going to be the end of it. You know, just because somebody's your enemy doesn't mean to say that you don't have to respect that person. And my attitude at the time was that his cause was good, but his solution was bad.
Altså i en situation, hvor du er i krig, der er du per definition ikke tryg ved noget som helst. Jeg frygtede, at hver gang vi landede, at der ville jeg blive arresteret. Og sidde i et bulgarsk, et iransk, et pakistansk fængsel. Der var jo mange muligheder undervejs. Den 16. december talte jeg med koordinatoren, hvor han fortalte mig, at vi skulle gennemføre våbennedkastningen inden for 48 timer. Så da faldskærmene lige var ankommet, så kunne vi så lette den 17. om morgenen. Generelt kan man sige, at der skal ikke gå én person over den pakistansk-indiske grænse, uden at inderne sender en hel hærbataljon efter dem, fordi at det er nok den mest bevogtede grænsestrækning i verden. Så det var jo fuldstændig utænkeligt at tænke sig at flyve ind i Indien med vores forhavne, uden at have det her åbne vindue. Det vi havde regnet med, det var, at vi i luften mellem Karachi og Varanasi kunne ompakke hele lasten. Men det viser om en overordentligt svært at være i et fuldt lastrum, hvor man skulle pakke noget i den ene ende og noget i den anden ende og nogle faldskærme. Og så da vi var under landing mod Varanasi, der kunne vi se, at vi var langt fra færdige. Vi går ind og forklarer dem, at vi har nogle motorproblemer med den ene motor, så vi er nødt til at blive på jorden i nogle timer. Fordi vi skulle købe os noget tid til at få pakket færdigt. Og så er det ellers tilbage ind i den her ovn, det var at pakke de her 3 paller færdigt.
My assumption was that the aircraft would be arrested in Varanasi. I knew that British intelligence, and therefore Indian intelligence, knew that that aircraft had to land at Varanasi. There was no choice. It's a very quiet airport. It's a perfect place to make an arrest like that. You know, if there happened to be shooting, there are no innocent bystanders. It's almost deserted. And when it didn't happen, that's the first time I had a slight worry.
Kim, do you have a moment? When do we have permission to take off?
1 hour, 25 minutes.
There's no way we can make it in time. And if we do, it's going to be pitch dark when we get there. We need a bit of light or else it's bound to fail. And then we also have time to ensure that
Peter, that's not an option. We have to leave today.
The only time I was actually apprehensive was when the aircraft was not arrested on the ground at Varanasi, because I had put in my original facts that one solution for the Indians would be that the Indian Air Force could shoot down the aircraft over the drop zone and bomb the people on the ground. And it wasn't a terribly serious suggestion when I made it, and I forgot about it. But after we took off from Varanasi, completely unmolested, I remembered it again. And I wondered if that wasn't what the Indians had decided to do, just shoot the aircraft down and have done with it.
We drop at 3,000.
Okay. Ready, ship.
We should do a final check. Can't be long.
Så flyver vi videre og lander planmæssigt i Phuket. På det tidspunkt, der var jeg træt. Der var alle trætte, møgbeskidte og møgtrætte. Ikke? Der havde vi jo været i gang i halvandet døgn non-stop uden at sove. Ikke?
We go to a place called the Karen Beach Hotel, which is sort of like a little resort hotel. And we all had a sort of a massage and fell asleep on the beach.
Hold on. Have you seen the news?
Up to 200 automatic weapons, detonators and rounds of ammunition have been found by the Indian authorities investigating the alleged arms drop. They were tipped off by villagers who saw the plane in Purulia in West Bengal. When it tried to leave, it was forced down and 6 people were...
Da jeg konfronterer ham med, hvorfor de ikke er landet rigtigt, der siger han, at det må være fordi, at kaptajnen har misforstået fod og meter.
The Russians are the only people in the world who fly in meters and not feet. We needed to fly at 3,000 feet above sea level, which is what the altimeter reads. Unfortunately, the pilot flew at 3,000 meters above sea level, which was far too high. So whilst the drop was perfectly on target in a straight line, we were far too high, so of course it overshot considerably.
We have to escape now. We can land in Bali, we can leave the plane there.
We should stick to the plan. The last thing we want to do is arouse suspicion in the Indian authorities. If we deviate from the plan, that's what will happen.
Og jeg var fuldstændig forundret. Det ville jo være fuldstændig selvmord at flyve tilbage til Indien, hvor vi lige kom fra.
Now the Indian police are anxious for all the information they can get.
I felt myself between the devil and the deep blue sea in Phuket. I could easily have flown straight home, and the offer is on the table from Niels to do this. But I feel that if I do that and suddenly appear back in England, and the arms have been found in India, that looks suspicious. The aircraft can be traced back to me. I wanted to give the Indians a second chance to bite the cherry.
Besætningsmedlemmerne er fuldstændig overbeviste af Bleach og vil kun gøre, hvad han siger. De føler, at han er, og det har de jo også ret i, han har jo været den, i hele forløbet, der ligesom har sørget for, at vi kom næste skridt og har talt med myndigheder og gjort. Så jeg kan godt forstå deres tillid til, at det han sagde, det var det rigtige. Problemet var jo, at jeg var nødt til at stå last og brast med dem, fordi hvis jeg var hoppet fra der, så når de kom ud til lufthavnen i Phuket, så ville de jo sige, hvor er ham den sidste? I kan ikke få lov at flyve herfra, før den sidste er. Og jeg tænkte også, jamen altså, hvis nogen kan navigere det der med at komme igennem Indien, så er det mig.
So we decide to do this. We fly out over the Indian Ocean. Wonderful flight with the tailwind. We make very, very good time. And we land at Madras. And I'm thinking, right, this is where it happens. And nothing happened at all.
Og der er ikke et løftet øjebryn, der er ingenting. Og så ånder jeg lidt lettet op, fordi jeg tænker, okay, mit skjold virker endnu.
Air traffic control has ordered us to land in Bombay. Something about not following our route.
We can't land, we have to fly on.
They can have fighter planes on our wings in minutes.
We just have to get into international airspace. Be all right?
Kim, there is nothing we can do.
Lige da vi lander, så går vi ud af flyveren, og der er ikke nogen. Vi er ikke omringet, der er ikke nogen. Vi bliver bedt om at parkere på en eller anden afsid i asfaltområdet. Og så står jeg en sidste gang med 2 af russerne og siger, kom nu, hop nu med mig over den mur der, lad os komme væk herfra. Det her, det går galt nu. Men de siger nej, vi stoler på Bleach.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. What are you doing here in Bombay? Do you have an emergency?
We were just asked to land.
By who?
Well, I presume air traffic control. But we were told that we had to land immediately. Do you not know anything about this? We were en route. We crossed over. Radio.
Namaste.
Kya bol?
I'm looking for the fuel and taxes office.
वहाँ पे वहाँ पीछे.
My first thought is, now we're being arrested, now they've realized. But that's not true either. This is just a routine customs search. You know, in India, they're not short of people. So where here 2 or 3 men would arrive, they will come with 30 because that's cheap. They search the aircraft, find absolutely nothing, and the aircraft's fueled up. We're ready to go. We give him our passport, and suddenly he says, where is Kim P. Davy? And I haven't seen him since he came out of the aircraft with his bag. So I assume he's left with the deputy manager of the airport to go and pay for the fuel, because the fuel's got to be paid for. And they raided the airport. No, nobody is here. So we're all arrested on immigration offences for smuggling Kim Davy into India illegally. We're taken back to the terminal. Still, I don't know who Niels is, who he might be connected with. I don't know who his friends are in India. I might be talking to his co-conspirators, for all I knew. So I was quite careful, and I waited for a very long time before I decide I'm going to tell somebody.
Where is Kim Davy?
Do you not know who we are?
No. Who are you?
Our plane dropped weapons into West Bengal a few days ago. I have been keeping the British government informed for months. Why didn't you arrest us sooner?
जानते हो कुछ? What was your name again?
Peter Bleach.
And I'm questioned by a man called J.K. Dutt, who's a joint director of the CBI. He tells me, look, if you're telling the truth, you'll be home by Christmas. Otherwise, you're going to jail for the rest of your life. And I knew I was telling the truth, so I'm not greatly worried about this.
Why did you land in Bombay?
How many times do I have to tell you that I want to speak with the British High Commissioner?
Don't raise your temper.
Why can't we just call him?
We just spoke to him. He says he knows nothing about you. He says this is an internal Indian matter.
Yes, I actually was in bed expecting Peter and getting ready for Christmas. And then I heard suddenly the newsreel on the BBC about Peter Bleach. Peter Bleach, I mean, my brain became very alert. Peter is my only son. It was the biggest shock in my life.
I was quite surprised at how many friends immediately dropped us. Peter instantly became the bad guy, and there were some truly appalling stories.
It never came into my mind that he was guilty of anything, and I knew that his intelligence would help him substantially. I always had faith in him that he could defend himself, whatever he needed to do.
How are you defending yourself?
On the facts. The facts prove my innocence.
What are the facts that you have to defend yourself?
The facts are that I'm not guilty of the case, and the CBI is lying to the court. They know this.
Are you satisfied that the trial is finally beginning?
Well, I'm very pleased that the truth will finally come out and the CBI can stop trying to fool the Indian people. What happened in this matter?
Do you think the Britain government is also involved?
I have no idea.
Peter always looked very, very well when the newsreels came on from Calcutta. He has been trained to be really tidy and always well looked after. He didn't look like a prisoner at all.
Sorry, they're pushing me. I have to go. Thank you very much.
And that was a great encouragement to me as well.
Obviously, this is a pretty bad feeling, and it would be stupid to pretend otherwise. It's very hard for people who live in Western Europe to understand the conditions in jail in places like India. If you don't have money to buy food, you really don't get any food. We were like skeletons with skin stretched over them. If you don't have enough food, you don't have the energy to look after yourself. You become ill very, very easily. You have no resistance to disease. And of course, the will to fight in court vanishes as well. So it was a very, very, very difficult time indeed. I decided to defend myself. But when I got the documents, I realized that the Indian authorities didn't even have any material evidence that the arms drop had ever taken place. And I realized that something very strange was happening. I received copies of the evidence, and I could see the evidence filed by the special branch officers from London, from North Yorkshire rather, through London, had been altered. Sergeant Elcock, the special branch officer, tried to make it seem as if he'd come to see me in the course of an investigation that he was carrying out. In other words, I was a suspect, right from the word go. This was completely different from the truth. And when I saw that, I felt a huge sense of betrayal.
Detective Sergeant Elcock didn't know when he went to court to give his evidence that his colleagues at North Yorkshire Police had sent me copies of the original evidence. The upshot of this was that after extensive cross-examination, Detective Sergeant Elcock was indicted for perjury for fabricating false evidence by the judge.
It's one thing to deny all knowledge of somebody, but it's an entirely different thing to falsify evidence. Let's not forget, there was a death sentence available on the charges that I was facing.
So in June 1998, I was sent to jail for contempt of court. That evening I was not aware that Peter Bleach will be my neighbor in jail. Then I asked him for the first time what were the charges against them. I wanted to see the charge sheet against them. And I read the charge sheet, then I could make out that there was some cover-up. Then he showed me hundreds of files in his cell that contains about 10,000 documents supplied by the CBI as evidence. So I decided to delay my release from the prison, and I spent about 36 days with Peter Bleach and 5 lieutenants in jail. It was a turning point in the trial court. One after another, I started filing the petitions in support of Peter Bleach to show the court that all the charges against Peter Bleach and 5 recipients were false.
Yes, I filed 2 petitions today, one protesting that Bombay Customs is charging me twice with the same case, and secondly, I filed a petition saying that the Union Home Ministry had filed a false affidavit before the court on the 15th of October. OK, chaps, let's not make any problems for the police. OK, thank you very much. Thank you.
You know you're in deep trouble when at least 2 governments are trying to make sure you stay in jail. After that realization, it was a pretty bad time, but I got a grip on myself, and I had to work out a way to fight it.
How do you do, Peter Bleach? How were you involved in this case?
I'm involved in this because I was dragged into it by some Danish citizens. Your viewers should know that this entire matter was planned and executed by Danish citizens in Copenhagen.
How would you characterize Kim Davy, also known as Nielsen?
As a very dangerous terrorist indeed.
I was working on a counterterrorism task force for the United States government, an interagency task force. We were asked to look into the identity of Kim Palgrave Davy. He was possibly an American. I checked American entry records and found out the identity was actually a New Zealand identity. At some point, we were told that Kim Palgrave Davy may be Niels Christian Nielsen. We obtained copies of Nielsen's computer files from his computer that were recovered from the airplane, and they gave us a bunch of leads in the United States. We found out that Nielsen entered the United States through Cincinnati and gone out to Colorado. We went to Colorado, found a ranch that he had purchased, apparently with Ananda Marga money, to use as a training camp for Ananda Marga members, teach them self-defense in both weapons and hand-to-hand combat. And Nielsen was heavily involved in counterfeiting U.S. dollars in the 1980s. There were at least 2 instances where he had counterfeit operations established that were raided by the police. People were arrested. Both times he managed to not be there or be out of town or be far away from when it happened. He was basically a moneymaker for the upper level monks in Ananda Marga. They had a cash flow problem. He provided the cash. The person I dealt with at Interpol was Christer Brannerud, an inspector with the Swedish police who was seconded to Interpol. He knows the case backwards and forwards better than anybody in the entire world. He wrote a very lengthy report when it was over, which I never saw and which I know was classified immediately when he wrote it. The report's basically the holy grail of the entire Purulia arms drop that nobody's ever read.
De første mange måneder, der går jeg ikke i gang med noget som helst. Jeg får et lille værelse på Nylandsvej på Frederiksberg, hvor det eneste vindue, det kigger lige over en mur, der er 2 meter væk. Så det var rimelig deprimerende, men jeg havde også bare brug for at gå fuldstændig i hi, ikke? Jeg havde jo levet et meget, meget defineret liv og arbejdet 18-20 timer i døgnet, ikke? Med alle de her udviklingsprojekter, jeg var midt i. Og alt det forsvandt jo overnight. Hele mit liv stod til revision. Så jeg vidste godt, at PET vidste, hvor jeg var. Jeg regnede jo nok med på det tidspunkt, at jeg skulle ind og ruske i Danmark i hvert fald, ikke?
For years, the Indian government did not want Niels Holck back in India. The Indian CBI denied to the trial court that they knew where he was. They pretended he was in Australia or South America or some remote village in Sweden. A friend of mine even screened footage from Danish television at the press club in Calcutta to demonstrate that everybody knew where Niels Holck was, or Kim P. Davy, as he's known in India. It still made no difference. The Indian authorities still told the courts they didn't know where he was. They were chasing him all over the world.
Da vi er flyttet herop i 2001, hvor jeg bliver stoppet i en eller anden gammel varebil sammen med en arkitekt. Vi er ved at bygge det her sted, hvor vi bor om. Politibetjenten spørger, hvem jeg er. Jeg fortæller, at jeg hedder Niels, og er mit personnummer sådan og sådan. Og så sætter han sig tilbage i bilen og skal tjekke. Så kommer han efter et kvarter eller sådan noget. Jamen, Niels, vi er altså desværre nødt til at tage dig med ind på stationen. Der er lige nogle små ting, vi skal afklare. Og vi sætter os ind på et kontor, sådan helt afslappet, lige over for hinanden på 2 kontorstole, uden et bord imellem os. Og så siger han, nå ja, men Niels, vi må se at få dig sluppet løs, så du kommer ud og tjene nogle skattepenge. Og så spørger jeg ham direkte, betyder det så, at jeg kan melde mig til folkeregisteret? Og der siger han, ja, stille og roligt. Når du har brug for det, så gør du det. Og det var da rart. Nu kan der endelig komme normalitet ind over, ikke? Selvom vi følte os rimelig sikre på, at alting var i orden, så var det en klar aftale, Sandra og jeg imellem, at vi kunne ikke sætte børn i verden, så længe min sag ikke var afklaret. Og jeg tror 14 dage efter, der udtaler Lene Espersen fra Folketingets talerstol, at inderne er blevet meddelt, at jeg ikke vil blive udleveret.
I realized that the way forward was to thoroughly cross-examine every witness that the prosecution produced and discredit them. And arising out of that, no less than 6 senior police officers were indicted for perjury. Now, of course, in any normal trial, if 6 senior prosecution witnesses are indicted for perjury, that is the end of that trial. It cannot possibly continue. And it came as a great surprise to everybody that we were not only found guilty, we were given a life sentence. And this shocked everybody. It shocked us too. And very shortly after the conviction, Vladimir Putin was due to come to India to sign a deal for Sukhoi fighter planes, fighter bombers, which India desperately wanted because they're a means of delivering a nuclear bomb. Putin said that he'll sign the deal for the fighter planes when his Russian crew was released from jail, and they were released immediately.
Пробыли мы там 1677 дней.
So it was obvious I was being kept in as a good figurehead. People felt that as long as I was in jail in Calcutta, the story was fine. So to me, the solution was very simple. I had to get myself into a position where it was more trouble to keep me in jail than it was to let me out of jail. I got a lot of help in India, I got a lot of help in the UK, and my story was never out of the press. And in the end, they did seem to agree or come to the conclusion life would be a lot easier if they just let me out of jail. And I think it wore them down in the end. Suddenly somebody came to my cell and said, pack your bags, you're going now. The High Commission will be here in a minute. When I came out of jail, there were thousands of people there. It was a hectic thing. And the police had to force our way through the crowds to take me to the High Commission.
And I must tell you that I'm delighted to be a free man at last. My ordeal is finally over, and this is a very emotional moment for me, as you will all understand. These years have not been easy, and I'm now eagerly awaiting the return, my return to my family.
We went to the airport to pick him up, and when he came out, the first thing I thought was, he hasn't changed a bit.
You're looking great. You're looking great.
He had this huge grin on his face, and his hair was immaculate, as he liked. First, as he started giving the press conference that the airport had tried very hard not to allow, he looked and sounded like the old Peter. And then once he'd got through the scripted bit, it was suddenly hitting him, the enormity of what he'd been through. The depth of his fear became clear.
I went absolutely crazy, and I was sitting here waiting for him to come. And that's all I was hoping. For 8 years, I have waited for my son to come home.
I was rather surprised that he just wanted to put it all behind him and start again. I think the Peter who went into prison would have focused all his energies when he got out on going hell for leather after Davy, trying to get revenge. I don't know if he got religion, but he certainly got something while he was there.
I have made a new life. I don't travel the world anymore selling arms to people. I run a hotel now. This is a good thing to do. Scarborough's a holiday town, and of course, we have a really good cocktail bar, so I'm kept pretty busy with all that.
Niels Holck er varetægtsfængslet i surrogat, fordi Justitsministeriet har valgt at udlevere ham til Indien. Det er terrorpakken fra 2002, der gør det muligt for Danmark at udlevere danske statsborgere til retsforfølgelse i lande uden for EU.
Vi har altså tale om et land, som ikke har tiltrådt FN's konvention mod tortur. Og det andet, vi ved, det er, at tortur desværre er vidt udbredt i Indien.
Her er det den terrorsigtede Abu Salem, der i 2005 blev udleveret fra Portugal, som angiveligt udsættes for medicinsk tortur.
Ja, når man ser jo sådan nogle optagelser, så skræmmer det jo endnu mere, fordi det er jo det, det drejer sig om. Det er en udlevering fra Portugal, en udleveringssag, som har, kan man sige, ligheder med Niels Holcks situation.
Der ser de, råbte han rasende og trak slipset til sig. Det er, hvad der kommer ud af at stikke næsen i andre folks sager. Men pas på, at du ikke går hen og får skægget i skrivemaskinen, fætter. Det lovede jeg så simmer og skyndte mig hjem for at drikke 2 store glas mælk. Ham der chefanklageren, han var altså rigtig uhyggelig. Fordi det er jo ham, jeg ligesom kommer ned til, hvis det er. Og det var ham, der også sagde, at hvis nu de havde været amerikanere, så havde de jo bare hentet mig. De siger, at jeg har jo rejst rundt i verden og hentet terrorister, ikke? Dem de synes er terrorister. Ja. Og det sagde han på sådan en lidt uhyggelig måde. Og så spurgte jeg ham jo om Abu Salem, hvorfor han var blevet tortureret, da han ankom til Indien, selvom man havde lovet, at han ikke ville blive tortureret. Og der sagde han, at nu er loven ændret, så nu skal man have den anklagedes tilladelse, før man kan torturere. Og så spurgte jeg ham, er det så...
Man skal have den anklagedes tilladelse
den man torturerer. Ja, den man torturerer skal give tilladelse til at blive tortureret. Så spurgte jeg ham så, er det så før eller efter, han er blevet tortureret?
Og den havde han så givet dem, mente han?
Nej, for det var før loven blev lavet om med ham, Abu Salem.
Nå, okay. Nej, det er helt tosset, hva'?
Ja, det er altså lidt tosset.
Nå.
Could you point me in any direction where I might be able to find a phone number for Stephen Elcock, the special branch officer that was involved in my case? Well, he was special branch, wasn't he? That's the trouble. They don't like releasing numbers. I think, having served 8 years in jail, I would like to settle a score. I can't forget about the fact that somebody tried to get me hanged in India, and I'd like to see that person apologize or at least I'd like to extract an apology from somebody for what was done to me. There's no other way around that. But the time has come, I think, after 15 years, to get the truth of this whole matter right out into the open.
When we wrote to the police and they wrote back to say that they didn't have an address for him, that's not right. They would lie about that. They do know where he is. He's a special branch officer. He would always be entitled to a degree of protection and anonymity. But I don't really know where to look.
Er I klar? Ja. 1, 2, 3! Slog du dig?
Ja, hej Ty. Lige et øjeblik, Ty. Jeg skal lige have sådan, at Sander kan lytte med.
Ja, Niels. Nu har vi så kendelsen fra landsretten, og det er en elendig julegave, vi har fået. Landsretten siger i kendelsen, at vi kan ikke få medhold i, at den skal falde på grund af dobbelt strafbarhed. Der er jo ikke nogen, der har klarlagt det her spørgsmål, ikke? Så siger de, jamen fordi der ikke står noget i forarbejderne, der klart støtter dig. Der står heller ikke noget, der ikke støtter dig, men fordi der ikke står noget, der klart støtter dig, så skal du ikke have medhold. Er du der, Niels?
Ja, jeg sidder bare lige og tænker.
Det, som vi har oplevet som vores stærkeste kort, det er rigtig trist. Men lad mig lige få fat i den, og så ringer jeg tilbage til dig, så snart jeg har den, og så mailer jeg.
Okay du. Hej. Så nemt skulle det ikke være.
Skal vi ud i den høje sne, ja?
Tabt på alle punkter. Tabt på alle punkter. Ja. Jamen, det vil sige, at selvom der står i loven, at det ene, så vælger de at sige det modsatte. Jamen, mor, det er helt sort. Der er bare ingen tvivl om, at de dommer, de bliver rusket i. Det er så uhyggeligt. Hvor skal jeg vende mig til? Jeg har jo ikke flere kort på hånd. Altså, hvis jeg flygtede til et andet land nu, så ville de jo sende mig til Indien på den første flyver. Jeg er nødt til at køre det her spil nu. Og jeg træffede en beslutning dengang, at det, du gør nu, Niels, det kan betyde din død.
We're just about to telephone David Shaler. David Shaler was the MI5 officer who looked after this entire thing. David Shaler and his then girlfriend, a lady called Annie Matchen, became traitors and they sold MI5 secrets to the press. Hello, David. Is that David?
Speaking, yeah, hi.
David, good evening to you. Hi, my name's Peter Bleach. We're old acquaintances, but we've never actually met. Peter Bleach, B-L-E-A-C-H. Does that ring a bell? You know, David, we go back a long time, and you probably understand that these things keep coming back to haunt me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you be up for sitting down for a chat sometime?
Of course, no, I'm always willing to talk to people, absolutely. No, I always like to hear things from the horse's mouth, basically.
David, thank you very much indeed. I appreciate you talking to me. Cheers.
Okay, cheers, man. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Back to what happened all those years ago, how come my case crossed your desk?
That is the mystery. I cannot remember. I don't know why I'd be seeing it because I was doing the Libyan desk. I can't think why that would happen. The only reason I say I did remember is because of the distinctive name, basically.
Now, of course, if we were in the joint service interrogation session, I'd press you on that.
I
would say, come along, David.
My recollection
How can
is...
you not remember where you passed this to?
But you bear in mind that you're getting loads of files coming across your desk, and you know, quite a lot of it's basic processing. It comes through, you do something with it, and it goes out again.
I'm completely comfortable with the fact that if the wheel comes off, you're on your own. But when a British Special Branch officer goes to an Indian court and lies, when there's a death penalty available at the end of that trial, the view that I take is that he's trying to get me hanged. Otherwise, why would you lie? And I find that a bit tricky to forgive.
It does seem weird that this guy's done this. And I say, it can't just... It's not obviously not him. It's some kind of pressure from above. But where does that come from? I say, because what you can't tell with this conspiracy is where it's coming, is precisely where it's coming from. So somebody somewhere, and not necessarily even in the police even, it may be from outside the police, has somehow brought pressure on him to go and do that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Det viser sig, at efterretningstjenesten gav våben til oprør i en anden delstat i 88 for at skabe så meget kaos, at centralregeringen kunne bruge det som undskyldning for at overtage styret i den stat og skubbe kommunisterne ud.
Og gjorde de det?
Og det gjorde de.
Og det gjorde de?
Og det lykkedes.
I 88?
I 88.
Ja.
Og den stat, den hedder Tripura. Det er det, som journalisten nede i Indien har fundet ud af, at på det tidspunkt, der falder det fuldstændig som sendt fra himlen ned i den strategi om, at hvis der dog bare var nogle flere oprørsgrupper i Bengalen, der lavede noget ballade, så man havde undskyldning for at introducere presidential rule. Men der er der ingen tvivl om, altså nyhedsmæssigt i Indien er der nu en hel masse redaktører, der er helt oppe i det røde felt, ikke?
Ja.
Fordi det er ligesom aldrig før kommet alle kilder på banen om, hvad der egentlig foregik. Alt er jo blevet lukket ned og lukket ned og lukket ned.
Okay, now?
Very good.
The Congress party wanted this to happen.
Of course.
They wanted a check.
Yes.
This was agreed with me. That the conspiracy went out of your hands.
Bishwas was the CBI chief. CBI chief investigator.
Eastern Region Director.
Okay.
Bishwas was taken off the case.
When? What year was he taken off?
Very soon. Before the charge sheet was formally filed. This Dutt came down from Delhi, Jyoti Dutt, and relieved him of this case. What's it?
I'm just laughing because you see, Dutt was the fixer. Dutt was the guy who was to stop the conspiracy from coming out. That proves everything, Udayan. That proves everything, Udayan.
The Purulia arms drop is considered one of the biggest intelligence failures in the history of India.
Yeah.
Yet nobody was called to answer.
India's best-kept internal secret is now exposed. 15 years after the Purulia arms drop, the mysterious Kim Davy emerges.
The situation is such that I have to tell the full story as it is.
Was it a plot to destabilize the West Bengal government? Which MP helped him get out of India?
Jeg har allerede været på, den kører på fuld gardin dernede, og regeringen er på pressekonference-niveau, emergency. Jamen, jeg bliver jo nok spurgt om, hvilken politiker der var, der hjalp mig ud af Indien. Det vil jeg jo helst ikke sige.
don't give a damn whether arms dealers are hung from the nearest lamppost or not. You know, it's not the world's most popular pastime, particularly in Britain.
Men kan I sende det ind på en skærm derinde? Yes, I am. There's an echo.
Tonight, for the first time ever, on Indian television, Kim Davy is joining me from Copenhagen. Kim, thank you for coming.
My name is Niels.
Your name is Niels Holck, and you are
Right.
also known as
Thank you.
Kim Davy. More people know you as Kim Davy in India. I also like to welcome from our studios in London, Peter Bleach. Who let you into India? You know, you cannot have a plane from Karachi going through Indian airspace unchecked. I want you to reveal the real story of what happened then.
Already spring '95, I was assured that the political forces in India that had interest in arranging for the defense of these people would assure the free passage. The same people saw to it that I got out of India. So the assurances that they gave me, they followed through on that.
You told me when we spoke that you left in a member of parliament's car surrounded by Indian security men. Give me some detail on that.
When the plane landed at Mumbai airport, at that time we were not surrounded by anybody. We were quite free. And when I saw that the police started coming, I slipped away from the airport. From then I went to Pune. I stayed a night in Pune. From Pune I was told through my contacts with the MP that
Who's
I
the
should
MP?
fly as soon as possible to Delhi.
Who's the MP?
And when I arrived at Delhi airport, I was received in the MP's personal car and put in the back seat and driven to his official residence within the sight of the president's residential dome.
Who's the MP?
And at that,
Name the
at
member
his
of
home,
parliament.
at Papu Yadav's home, Mr. J.K. Dodd arrived shortly afterwards and arranged for the transport by train that evening from Delhi to a very small train station that I couldn't see because I was packed in blankets. There, another diplomatic, or what should I say, official car was waiting, plus two other cars with AK-47 guards, who then drove me directly from the platform of the station over the border into Nepal and dropped me at the bus depot on the Nepali side, from where I escaped back to Denmark.
You named two people, and I must say this, that you are naming them at your own responsibility. Now, Mr. Dutt, Niels Holck or Kim Davy is saying tonight that you helped him escape from India. He's given full details. I'd like to have your version tonight.
What Kim Davy has said is absolutely false. I deny this thing completely because I was nowhere on the scene about where his escape is concerned.
Your chief from '96 onwards has just said on national TV that he was stopped investigating the case by politicians.
If anyone has made a statement like that, it is for that person to answer.
Anyone.
Only
It is
thing that I
Jogendra
can say
Singh
is
who has
if
made
there
that
is
statement
anything,
today.
Because after all, the head of any organization is the one who will interact with the government.
How can Jogendra Singh
Gentlemen, I'm
today
intervening.
say-
Peter Bleach, you looked quite amused when that conversation was going on.
It's terribly sad to see a man of Mr. Dutt's stature wriggling away from the truth there. He knows very well that he was the clean-up merchant for the Indian government in this whole thing. He laid the smokescreen himself. It is a matter of record that I filed a petition before the Honourable Court in Calcutta asking that Mr. Dutt be called as evidence, and the CBI told the learned court that Mr. Dutt had never been to Kolkata, had never been involved in the investigation, in exactly the same way that the CBI denied that Superintendent Krista Brannerud of Interpol had ever carried out an investigation into this case. It's all a pack of lies.
The point tonight is this. What is the larger issue at hand? Now, can we disregard this whole notion of complicity when we know we don't have access to the documents? We don't know the truth. Will the people of this country accept a second cover-up into the biggest secret ever of our internal security framework?
One thing I would like to point out today is that CBI asked Interpol to make a report about the whole case. When the report was done, CBI made sure that it was classified, and it has never been read by anybody outside the system. I think it would be fair and square for CBI today to come forward and declassify the report about the case that they had the international police make, and nobody's in doubt that I somehow became a pawn in a larger game.
For information in English, press 1. Your call will now be transferred to an operator. Please hold.
Good afternoon. I'm phoning you from England.
Yes.
Hello there. I'm trying to get hold of Krista Brannerud.
Krista
Brannerud.
Brannerud, yes. I'm connected to you. Krista Brannerud?
Oh, hello. Is that Krista Brannerud, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. Good afternoon to you. My name is Peter Bleach. I don't know if you remember me at all, Krista.
Is it Peter Bleach?
Yes, it is. Yes, yes.
Ja, från ditt... ja, okej. Ja, it was a long time ago we met, yeah.
The time has come for me. I'd really like to try and find out now what did happen. And I wonder if, in relationship to that, if I came over to Stockholm at some stage, would you be prepared to sit down for half an hour, and just generally talk about, you know, the overall situation, your memories of those days?
Yeah, it should be ridiculous if I reject it, because this case was personally, it concerned me a lot, yeah, so it was many things in this which were never said and never spoken out. We can meet under more pleasant circumstances than the last time we met. So in case that you come over to Stockholm, please give me an alert.
He's ready to talk. He's ready to talk. Hello? Hello, could I speak to Krista Brannerud, please? Krista, it's Peter Bleach phoning you. How are you?
Yeah, hello. Yeah, fine, and how are you?
I'm very well indeed, Krista, I'm passing through the area. Very short notice. Would you have time to have a chat with me this evening or tomorrow morning? Hello? Hello, Krista. Sorry we got cut off there. I'm very sorry to hear that. Would there be any chance to chat quickly tomorrow evening, perhaps? Hi, Krista. Hi, it's Peter Bleach. I would really appreciate if you could spare me maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. I'm at a little hotel called Eureka Hotel, which is, you know, on the island close to the Royal Palace.
Yeah. But sometime tomorrow.
Excellent.
according to the findings during this work that we did, investigation you can call it, was that you were not the organizer behind this, far away from that. Apparently, you kept the British authorities informed about what was coming to happen, what was going to happen. And you had a number of contacts with various people from the British authority. And seeing Nielsen more or less living without problems in Denmark while he was still in prison, that was quite disturbing. Yeah. I could see some reluctance from countries to fully participate. The case was slowed down in the cooperation way because perhaps we touched something that we should not come too close. The report was immediately classified, as we call, got the red stamp on, which makes it impossible for me to give out any details from that report. But that's probably an indication that there was some higher interest involved in this case.
I dag begynder udleveringssagen mod den 48-årige danske våbensmugler Niels Holck ved Østre Landsret. For første gang siden 1957 er der hele 5 dommere på en sag ved landsretten, der skal afgøre, om Niels Holck kan udleveres til retsforfølgelse i Indien.
Morning. Hi.
How are you feeling? Is the trial starting again?
Yes.
Good feeling, confident or
Apprehensive. Yes.
All of us in India are really concerned about your safety and security, and I can assure you, if at all you go there, you will be safe. I can give a guarantee to you. I'm telling you. Don't worry. Don't feel bad.
You know, before I jumped the wall, I took the tall Russian close to me who spoke a bit of English, but I spoke to him
Igor
in Russian.
Timmerman, yeah.
Igor. And I said to him, listen, we gotta get away from here.
Yeah.
This is gonna end in a bad way. He said, no, I trust Peter. He'll get us through this.
Oh, bloody hell. Now, for the first time, I feel bad about this. The stupid fool, he trusted an Englishman. What an idiot. And he's Russian.
There was a bit of a feeling in me that you had made the bed that you end lying in.
And I think you'd be right. I would not argue with that on that. And which is why the only resentment in the whole thing I have was that they felt it necessary to come to the court and try to make it worse.
Yes. But Peter, let me say this. Today you opened up. It was very... I cannot find words for when you started the last few sentences.
Well, I thought we're not quite getting the point here. You know, we're talking around the subject, and I just didn't feel that we got to the bottom of what life is like in an Indian jail. And I've actually never told that story before. You were quite right.
It was very evident.
And it was quite emotional. And that surprised me as well. I thought I'd put all that away.
Because, you know, last night, there's a book being published in Denmark in a week's time. An Indian woman from Calcutta. She was tortured so badly in presidential jail that she lost her legs.
Oh, no.
I was reading that just before going to bed last night. And when I woke up this morning, I thought I shouldn't have read that.
The amount of, no,
but in a sense, when I heard your testimony, I was a bit happy that I had done it because I was prepared.
You see, people don't understand. I used to get letters from a Canadian guy, very sadly hoped I could help him, but he was in for drugs. They rape this guy every day. You know, and you know what these cells are like with 120, 130 people in there. And it was the television program for the night. You know, watch the Canadian guy get raped. You know, and he used to write to me and tell me about this. But it happens all the time. You know, actually, I got away quite lightly, really. You know,
yeah, compared to what could have transpired.
You know, the amount of guys I've seen that they've been brought back from the police station in central Calcutta, and there's no skin left on their feet, because they hang them from the ceiling and just beat their feet till they sign the confession. They can't walk for 3 weeks after they come to jail. And I've seen the jail doctor write, no visible injuries. You think, how can you do this? You're a bloody doctor. For Christ's sake, you know, it's just normal in India. They don't even think it's torture. That's
part
the
of the culture. It's part of the culture.
That you must accept your lot in life.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an awful thing, but I mean, you know, how the hell will it help to send you there? You know, what's that going to prove?
Landsrettens afgørelse er enstemmig, og der har vi fundet, at der i tilfælde af udlevering til strafforfølgning i Indien vil være en reel risiko for, at Niels Holck vil blive udsat for en behandling i strid med den europæiske menneskerettighedskonventions artikel 3. Så vi har tiltrådt af Justitsministeriets beslutning af 9. april 2010 om udlevering af Niels Holck til strafforfølgning i Indien, strider mod bestemmelsen i udleveringslovens paragraf 6 stykke 2, og at udlevering derfor bør nægtes.
Jeg synes, at vi kunne godt have været det her foruden, fordi jeg kan ikke lade være med at sidde tilbage med en følelse af, at de jurister i Justitsministeriet, som burde være landets ypperste, at de har været udsat for en eller anden form for politisk pres, når nu alle andre siger det modsatte af dem. Fordi man kan ikke lade være med at sidde tilbage med en fornemmelse af, at der er noget galt så.
fra den dag, jeg fik den ind på mit kontor, tænkte jeg, at det her kan ikke være rigtigt. Hvis Niels Holck havde kastet nogle våben ned i Namibia eller i Niger, så var den her sag aldrig nogensinde kørt. Altså, man må stille sig det spørgsmål om ikke det forhold, at Indien er så væsentligt for Danmark i dag, politisk, økonomisk, for erhvervslivet, at man har i hvert fald den mistanke, at ministeren har varetaget nogle uvedkommende hensyn til Indien. Og bare det, at den mistanke er der, det synes jeg er trist. Og nu har jeg altså både en byret og en landsret, der siger, at det var ulovligt, det vi gjorde.
You know, I'd served in the British Army during the Cold War. We did a lot of intensive training to replicate what would happen if we were grabbed on the East German border and put into interrogation in Russia. So we got some pretty grim treatments in our training camps to show us what it would be like to be captured, to be grabbed, to be hooded, mistreated and things like that. So I was left with a feeling back in '95 when I was arrested that, you know, I remember particularly sitting in the cells in the Calcutta police headquarters and suddenly thinking back to those days when I was in my training in the army, and I suddenly realized that those training sergeants knew exactly what they were talking about. And if I hadn't had that training, I couldn't have got through it. And I really don't want to discuss it anymore. But at the time, it just struck me in that court that if I didn't go into this in detail, the same thing would happen to Niels Holck. And you know, for all that he's quite a tough guy and he's been around the world, I don't think he'd had the training that I had, and I don't think he could have survived it. And so I thought I'd better explain that to the court.